The Gifts of the Stranger, Learning from Others' Differences. In this chapter, this one was saved intentionally to be the last week because as you progress through this class, you've created a community of learners with your classmates, perhaps the ones that have resonated with you a little bit more. You're really forming those relationships. We have families that come into our center. You've had opportunities to work with children. I mean, just all together. I like the title of this chapter because the gifts of the stranger and learning from others' differences, I think just wraps up our semester and how we've been digging into understanding the variety of families that we serve and how you can build those relationships with those families as well as the children of the families. And in this chapter, it does state a lot of different statistics, like 65.3% of mothers with children younger than 6 were in the labor force. Guess what? Those children are in our classrooms, and that 63.1% of mothers with children younger than 3 were working outside of the home. Nearly 15 million children younger than 6 are in some type of child care setting. And early childhood programs are creating a new kind of community for families, one that can bridge the gap between their private and public lives. Basically, are you ready for that? I have to say, when I first started in this field, I wanted to keep my private life private and my work life, right? Keep that boundary, keep it, it was a hard line. And as time progressed, I realized what these families are really wanting. They want that connectivity to me, and they wanted to be able to get a hold of me, and I needed to be more accessible to them. And by having that wall between us, the one that I put up, really prevented them from, I guess, getting to know me. And I'm not saying that you need to give out your home address and your phone number and all that. However, there are apps and things that you can use where they can still dial your phone, but yet they're using a different number, so your number's not out there. But really I learned over the time that I wanted to learn more about the families. I want to get to know them personally as well as like their teacher. And since then, I have made quite a few good friends of parents, former parents of mine. And I just think my world has gotten a lot better because they've been in my life and they are sharing their life with me. So learning from others' differences, professional education, it definitely provides you with a basic teaching knowledge, but it really does only go so far. And developing the awareness and sensitivity needed to build trusting relationships when working with children whose families, cultures, religions, and socioeconomic statuses differ from your own is a complex process. So give yourself a break. Don't be too hard on yourself, but keep doing the work that needs to be done on that, so that the next family that comes in your door is feeling even better about being a partner in their child's relationship and education with you. Teachers' preparation and professional development programs often neglect to emphasize differences, and that's why this course was so important to bring about it, because we work with everybody we meet is different from us, right? We have some similarities, but we also have all these amazing differences, and we need to embrace it and spotlight that. And I hope that this course has done that for you. Teachers need practice cultivating skills and dispositions such as empathy, risk-taking, and welcoming differences to provide high-quality care and education. Who goes to college? Some educators may find it challenging when students have different languages, cultures, lifestyles, and social economic statuses from their own. An effective educators view diverse characteristics as strengths, crafts learning experiences that connect that students' lives and creates a place where shared learning is valued. This applies to all educators. We want to make sure that if something's not covered in your content or course, you need to do the work, right? And you need to make sure that you are, as it said, valuing all of them, all of your families, students' lives, and create a place where learning is shared and valued, and I would say visible, and making sure you're not missing anybody in that kind of grouping. There are 4 critical factors needed to build communities of mutual learning. It's a nurturing environment, story sharing, reflective practice, and open dialogue. So we're going to dig into each one of them. So nurturing environment, getting to know your students, responsiveness to multiple realities, skills in caring, and introductory exercises. All right, so the introductory exercises. Sometimes people are like, oh, I don't like them. I think they're super important because it allows us to get to know each other. It kind of breaks down that unfamiliarity with each other, and it can kind of get us to laugh at each other. But getting back to getting to know your students. So in the book, the way this is written, it's kind of as an educator that works with other educators, right? But I want you to bring this to your classmates, thinking about getting to know your classmates. How did you get to know the classmates? Which ones stood out to you? Which ones did you find as a reliable source that you actually leaned on throughout this course? But when you think about your families in this context of getting to know your students, what are your concerns for your children? What challenges are you going through as a primary caregiver? Ask those questions to your families if applicable. Get to know them. Most families are willing to share. Most families are willing to give you something. And I think they just need to be asked sometimes. And then be responsive to multiple realities. By encouraging different perspectives to become part of the learning experience, we all grow and learn from each other. Although it could be challenging sometimes and uncomfortable, we need to make sure that we are open to that. And introductory exercises, again, I talked about that. And skills in caring. I don't think this needs to be overdone inside, but it's pretty much, you need to have that care, that respect for one another. And if you don't have it, then you need to be working on those skills. Story sharing. Truly listen with, it'll allow you for a deeper understanding and growth. How are you going to get to know somebody if you're truly not listening? You shouldn't have thoughts in your mind going as somebody is telling you something. Just try to truly be in that present moment. Allow for real life issues to surface, enable students to look at patterns, contradictions, and inconsistencies in their lives and work. So as these real life issues come up, that's another opportunity for you to reflect on that. Interviewing and a case study of a family you consider very different from your own will allow you for growth. What are your thoughts on the interview? So I have students do interviews with a family, and in fact, in this course, you've had one. And it's really just getting to understand the complexity of family dynamics. Families are so complicated and so dynamic and so diverse from one another. By interviewing that family, I'm hoping that you gained enough knowledge to understand, especially when one's different from you, that you took away some insight that maybe not only can you apply to your own growth, but to other families as they walk through your door. Reflective practice is what I was just asking you to do. That every childhood educator responds to complicated and unexpected occurrences as part of their work. Rely on their judgment rather than on pre-learned answers, right? So you want to make sure it's not a script when you're speaking with your families. You don't want to make sure that this is the answer I just give to every family. But yet you've got to make sure it's a judgment call. What do I say at this point in time? How do I get them through this? What do I respond with? Because if you give them the same, I like to say lip service, they're going to know you're not authentic. You've really got to be truly listening so that you can use that judgment rather than pre-learned answers. The skill requires much practice. It's multiple levels of learning. So take time to work on that and cultivate that with you. Like, what is the story of how you were named? How did your family discipline you? Those are all great questions to be asking and learning from families. And observations are critical. We take observations on children all the time. That is a pillar, a foundation to early childhood. Well, guess what? We need to do this with our families as well. We need to observe them. And then we can ask the appropriate questions and then reflect on what we've learned and how we can apply it. Open dialogue. When we engage in open dialogue, we learn so much. It is critical for everyone to have that open dialogue. I think sometimes we worry that others might get offended or upset, and I don't think that we should blindly go into conversations with that intention at all, but be very mindful for what we say. Make sure we're careful of what we're saying, but have that open dialogue about things. As educators, we have a lot to say to families. We have these amazing gifts and things that we want to say about the children we serve, about how great their children are and what they're doing. But sometimes we also have to have the tough talks too. But again, be open to that dialogue and not to have your mind already predetermined on what the path is going to be for that family. And colleagues, we have to have open dialogue with them. We can't take everything personal. So I have a sign by my desk. It says Q-tip, quit taking it personal. And I think that's a really good message to keep in mind, that if things are being said to you or you are saying things to other people, some feedback perhaps, some critique, that it's coming from a place of good. It's coming from a place of they want you to grow or you want them to grow. So keep that open dialogue. And if there's an error made and some offenses made, then we just need to own up to it and move past that and keep working towards that relationship. So we can learn from others. We know that. Adult learners, like young children, we are successful if they aren't expected to conform to a single set of teaching practices that might not be good fit for who they are, right? So just like children, we are the same way. One size does not fit all. We have to be flexible and moldable, and we need to continue our journey as much as the journey for the families and the children. Learning from others needs a nurturing environment, story sharing, reflective practices, and open dialogue. This truly will create a new kind of community for all, and one that is inclusive for everyone.